You're taught a word and then you're like, well, that's what that means. Okay, moving on.
Everybody knows what that means. I don't need to define it. And yet when we don't, and we all have different definitions, we're all functioning in different ways, and they're often not compatible.
Right.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. Emily Grace Deal, what are we talking about today?
Working with teams, we often help them define words.
Yes.
So that they have a shared language. Yep. The other day, we took the time to define what excellence means for us as a team.
Yep.
I thought that it would be a good conversation to talk about why defining things is so important.
It's, you know, what's funny is it's most of the work we do, honestly, is getting teams together and saying, what do you believe about this word? Mm-hmm. And it's funny, we don't do that very much for us. When we did it the other day, it was so much fun. It was so exciting to kind of look at what we define as excellence. We'll kind of get into that in a minute, but I think it's really important work because we start by assuming that everyone believes the same thing about what something means.
Well, yeah, because you're taught a word and then you're like, well, that's what that means. Okay, moving on.
Everybody knows what that means. I don't need to define it. And yet when we don't, and we all have different definitions, we're all functioning in different ways, and they're often not compatible.
Right.
A perfect example is we did a retreat a while back, and the leader that hired us, he was really frustrated. He's like, I want my people to own things. I talk to him all the time about ownership. You got to own your job. You got to own your tasks. You got to own your role. And I said, well, do they know what ownership means? And he goes, well, of course they know what ownership means. These are grown adults. Who doesn't know what ownership means? Okay. We got 10 people around the table. We ended up with 10 different definitions of ownership. And they were all similar but slightly different in ways that was causing problems.
Right. And if you have any one of those definitions, it does. It means ownership.
Yes.
That's what their definition is.
Yes. And so ultimately the team had to create a shared definition to say, when we say ownership, here's what we mean. Now we're going to hopefully function in much more consistent ways.
Right.
Now we can have a true accountability. And so a lot of it is helping define words. What do they mean? And this is such a vital exercise for every team, and something that rarely gets done. We focus on just, here's the thing we want to get done. This is part of how are we going to actually do that.
Yeah.
The what we get done doesn't always matter quite as much as the how are we going to get it done. And that's the part we spend no time on, because it's we're all going to sit around and define ownership and excellence and accountability. And yet that is such vital work. And
it
we
really
do this
is
all the time.
I mean, it didn't even take us that long, but we were able to sit and put enough time in it.
It was so helpful, because part of what we got to understand is these things, not only can we not assume people know what they mean, but once we define it and say, you know what, that is for us, that's the Forward Partners way of doing this. I got excited by that, quite frankly. And I was really proud of the work we did as a team. And so this is just a good example of this. So we defined excellence. We wanted to say, when we say excellence, what does it mean from a Forward Partners perspective? Here's how we defined it. Very simply, there's just five simple parts. The first one, we answer clients' questions before they even have them. I love that idea that we are so client focused. We're putting ourselves in their shoes. We're saying, what questions are they going to have at every step so that we can answer it for them and make sure that they always know what's next. And I love that idea. We said we obsess over tiny details. We really do obsess over tiny details. And I think excellence is that obsession about the small things.
Yeah.
We are sticklers. I think that comes from your history as a designer, my history. I mean, between us, we probably got like 50 years worth of design experience.
Yeah.
Design is about details. It is about the most minutia, like little tiny minutia.
Yeah.
And ultimately everything, like when you can go too far in that direction, but obsessing over the tiny details, I think, is what makes our work matter and make it more impactful. Because we think about little things,
right?
You know, we think about the how are, like, what does the mug say that we're going to have on the table here, and you know, all the little stuff that matters that we don't notice instantly, but it makes a difference.
Right.
So we obsess over tiny details. I think we're really good at that. Sometimes
definitely.
Maybe a little too
we do
obsessive.
have to police ourselves on that, like, a little bit.
Eventually we got to draw a line and go, okay, no more details right now.
Yes.
The third piece is we take our purpose seriously. We understand this is a calling and the work we do matters. And so we take that very, very seriously. That drives us to be excellent, to not just go, we're okay just half-assing this one. Like, no, we're going to do it.
I think a lot of it is we're asking you to talk about big things. And
Yes.
so we want you to know that this is important and we take it seriously.
Yes. When that's a great point, because a lot of what we do is stand in rooms with people that need to have really hard, really uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, we were just joking about making people talk about their fears. That's what we do, and that's a big thing.
It, right?
We know that's not just a joke.
Let's talk about our deep-seated fears and how it's stopping us as a team. Like, if we show up in a way that is less than excellent, that if we're not taking that seriously, they're not going to take it seriously.
Right.
So we do take our purpose very seriously. We want our clients to experience love and delight through our quality. We want them to experience the things we produce, whether it's a podcast or a workbook at an event or a talk that I'll go give at a conference, whatever it is. We want them to experience that and walk away experiencing love and delight, because quite frankly, we love what we do. We love them. And I get so much delight from doing this. Like, this is so much fun. And I want people to experience that through the quality.
Yeah, 100%. I love that.
I think we all kind of share that as a team. And it's, again, we're a small team, so it's easy, but we're intentional about that too. And the last one is we value our clients' time and attention. We really never take that for granted. If they're going to focus on us and give us their attention and look to us for anything, they're going to get excellence back.
Right.
Because if they don't get excellence, we're not really honoring that. And so I just love that these are 5 very simple phrases, but they define what do we mean when we say excellence.
You know what I was just thinking about when we were talking about this is that we talk about agreements versus expectations and having buy-in because you did it together. Yeah. That's a big piece of what this is, and just a different way. But we all sat together and did this and put our piece in and kind of workshopped it to figure out what it should say. And so we all can agree on it, and we all have that buy-in for this because we all did it together.
And that's really what this is an agreement. We agree on what excellence means. We agree we want to function with excellence. You're absolutely right about that. And this is different than if I had just come in and said, here are 5 things I believe about excellence. This is what we will do. It would not have landed the same because we are naturally kind of rebellious. And so something inside us, even though we're bought into a lot of things, would have been like, I could have done that better.
Well, and you might have missed a piece that's important to us.
Yeah, did he not think of this? Like, it really does matter that we do this together. You're right. And I think that's the powerful piece of helping teams create this. We never have the leader do it. We have the team do it together. Right. And you get insight you wouldn't get otherwise. It is so valuable. That's a great, great point. Leaders, let's talk next steps about this idea. I would encourage you, think about terms that y'all throw around all the time that you might need to define, to gather with your team and say, hey, when we say ownership, when we say excellence, when we say accountability, when we say hustle, whatever it is, what do you think that means? And let them define what it means to them. And then y'all can create a shared definition together. This really makes sure you're united with the same language. And when you're speaking the same language, you can go do anything. But you have to have that language. Otherwise, you're going to constantly move in different directions. And you're going to be less efficient. You're going to get less done. You're going to create more challenges. So defining language matters. And that's an example of how we defined excellence. I would love to hear your definition of excellence. What does it mean for your team? If people want to send us their definition of excellence and what it means for their team, where do they send that to?
To lab@forwardpartners.net.
Lab@forwardpartners.net. We are all over LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, putting out leadership content every day. Where do they find that on those platforms?
@forwardpartner.
And when we say it's a lot of content, it's a lot of content. Like, this is a lot of what Emily does is she puts out this content. She creates most of it. And it is honestly surprising to me because she does such a good job and I don't see most of it. And so I'm just like scrolling through LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, that's a great post. Look what we did. Oh, there's another great post. Look, there's 4 today. We're doing awesome. So if you're really focused on growth and leading, it's a great way to kind of consume some of that content and get some really good wisdom and insight. This is things that we teach, is things we're learning as we're on the ground doing this work, things that resources we find from others. So we're always sharing that. Emily, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you.
John, thank you for producing. John, Porchlight Productions, and thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please share this with fellow leaders. We want to extend that reach. We want to make sure we're having the biggest impact we possibly can. So do the like, do the subscribe, but more importantly, share it. We'll see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.